Hello, friends, and welcome to the Optimized Advisor Podcast, where we focus on optimizing the well-being and best practices of insurance and financial professionals today. On this show, our objective is to help you optimize your life, optimize your profession, and learn from other optimized advisors. I'm your host, Scott Heinela. We hope you enjoy the show. Annie, welcome back in the studio.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is the first time here in the Texas studio.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's like everything, it's a work in progress, but it is a different look, a feel.
I actually really like it. It's very light compared to the podcast studio in Orange County. It's a little bit more tight-knit, a lot warmer.
It is a little warmer, yeah. At least right now, it's beautiful here.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
We haven't had the Texas heat yet, but it's coming.
I just can tell the difference in the media when we do the podcast here, that it's just a lot lighter. It's just, I don't know, the dynamic of it. When you film it, looks good.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So I love being here. This is fun.
Okay, quick. Let's remind people who you are. This is not our first episode, nor will it be our last. But go ahead and let's remind everybody who you are, what you do, and why you're here.
Perfect. I am Annie Dietrich. I am the owner and founder of AC Social Designs, a social media agency. We work with small businesses, large businesses, and creators in managing their social media and their social media marketing. And this will be like my third episode with you.
Yes, actually.
I think so.
Yeah. Hopefully many more to come.
Yeah. No, good topics to always talk about.
And much to talk about now. Significant, I would say, development and evolution, not just in social media, but the integration of technology, which we will get to in social media and how that's playing in the roles of, in particular, financial advisors, but really any walk of life. So
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about what is currently trending in the world of social media.
So there's a lot of always forever changing things going on in social. But one of the biggest thing that if you haven't heard about it, you're probably living under a rock, would be AI. So a lot of things have shifted. I would say that's our biggest one. And then it's the competition between all the platforms.
Okay, so let's pause on the AI for a moment.
Okay.
What are we seeing in terms of the main? I mean, we have the obvious ones, but I hear all kinds of news here and there of different ones. Should we really take note to some of these different social media platforms, or is it really LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and then of course I know we have Snapchat, TikTok. Yes, excuse me, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
I was testing to see if you were paying attention.
No, Snapchat's still amongst the youngins. I think it's who knows? They're in the
but
competition.
TikTok would be the one most front and center in the news for many reasons.
For sure.
But also in its massive viewership of, I would say, all ages, really.
All ages. I would say your biggest head-to-head, if I were to put it out there, is going to be Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
I think LinkedIn lives in a very special place, and that's a very smart part on them, like on the actual
Microsoft.
Thought process of LinkedIn, because it is a business networking platform. So you can't get swallowed up in all the junk,
Right.
which Instagram and TikTok live for. So Facebook is, to me, I feel like is a bit outdated. It's forever going to be the parent of Instagram, but Instagram drives. Like their revenue comes from Instagram. Facebook still has a very valid place, and it's needed. You have to have a Facebook to do certain things in Instagram, and everything's kind of converted into this meta business platform. And so without actually like getting away with doing full just Instagram is really hard. But then the biggest competition would be between TikTok and Instagram. And the platforms are so different. Like their algorithms are different. They react different. Their demographics are different. But I do say for the most part, Instagram definitely competes with TikTok. TikTok does something, Instagram creates its own version and vice versa. And so they're always kind of in this battle.
So one of the things I've noticed too is recently is, Google is probably not rolling over in this, and they obviously have a very, very powerful platform and engine, YouTube. What have they done to create any products that might compete with some of those others? anything happening there, like YouTube Shorts as an example?
No, I think YouTube Shorts is like definitely pushing itself up there for sure. You have to remember YouTube's like the second largest search engine outside of Google. And for the most part, you could think of the demographic. They have a YouTube Kids, then regular YouTube, and YouTube Shorts is playing off of kind of like the TikTok version, the 30 to 90 second video, as well as Instagram Reels. So those features, that video interaction is what they're using through YouTube Shorts. I think that they've done a really good job at adding that into the platform, and I think it will continue. If you have, like, for instance, I really think that people in the financial industry should 100% get on the YouTube Short. If you're thinking today, like, I have not shown up on social media at all, where do I start? I probably would say if you're going to be educating your clients through what you do and what your services are and sharing and storytelling and creating that expert mark, then I would say try YouTube Shorts, because it's really easy to be seen on YouTube Shorts. It's not saturated as much as Instagram and TikTok. And I would say for the most part, it's very good to be able to educate through video. And I work with a lot of people in the wellness industry, and I'm always encouraging them to do YouTube Shorts because they're sharing case studies, they're showing the receipts, they're explaining why, they should have this service, or talking about a certain thing that's a root cause and, being fixed amongst their wellness journey. Same thing from like from your perspective, like going on there and talking about annuities, that would be a great place for that, And I think Instagram and TikTok are too. It's just you have to pull in the right following. And to be honest, it's a very busy platform now. When I started becoming an expert in my space, I wasn't competing with what I'm competing with now. Like everyone's engagement's low.
Not MySpace, the product. MySpace.
No, MySpace as in like the space of social media, and your space. No, that's long
fantastic.
gone.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's talk. So video is king. It remains to be king. Let's just talk just a few Clip Notes versions of like best practices to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes to develop the best video product that you can. Very simple things. One, like lighting.
Yeah.
Do your best to have adequate lighting. We're not saying that everybody needs to be a true professional expert and buy all this incredible lighting equipment. We're not saying that, but lighten up the room the best that you can. Have good lighting. Be aware of the lighting in your space. Be aware of the background.
Yes.
Be aware of your scene, your backdrop. This is an opportunity for you to stage your environment, what you want people to see, how you want to be seen.
Especially as a professional.
Right.
Like that's what you're giving off. If you don't care, then, some of those videos do great. There's been a lot of controversy about like, you should be driving in your car when you're doing a video, because when you're busy, it makes people be like, what are they going to do next? Mm-hmm. And I would argue that I like a professional setting. Like when I sit and I talk to my followers, I just sit at my desk and I talk so you can see my face, so you can engage with me. But yes, good lighting, a good speaker. If you're not using trending audio instead of talking, you need to have captions on your video, because 90% of the time people watch things without the volume on.
Okay, so what's an easy and efficient way for me to make sure that I'm including captions? Is there a technology or a solution, something that can auto capture? Because what if I just don't have the resources to go through and type all these captions in? Or how do I easily and efficiently implement that?
So every platform now to date has a button, like the feature within. So if you go in and you create a reel, at the very bottom of a reel before you post it, there's an area where you can go in and you can make sure the captions button is turned on.
Okay.
You can also use a caption sticker. It's a sticker within the reel, and you push that, and that automates the captions for you, and you can, block them, and you can make them highlighted, or you can make them scroll. There's all kinds of different options, and TikTok does the same.
Perfect. Okay. So are we a fan of videos in the car or not?
Personally, no.
Okay. I agree with you.
I'm always like, why is that person driving and talking on
or just parked and sitting there in the car?
Yeah.
It's a great point.
A lot of people do it.
A lot of people do it. Actually, people that I am regularly connected to and or see their video feed, I find that I'm viewing videos in the car, and I think they probably could be a little more creative.
Well, and I also think that part of the time is there's so much pressure to show up on social media. So it's like, when do I fit that in? That's a lot of times when I coach people how to do their social media, I teach a segment on time management, like how to manage your time so that you're only doing your social this much and you're optimizing it. And that's a big deal. Like, a lot of people only have 2 minutes before they go into an appointment. So they're in their car and that's just where they're recording, but at least they're showing up.
And creating content. Yeah. So let's go back to the fact that if you're committed to it, whatever works, record when and where you can and makes the most sense in your time and your schedule, but do the best you can to incorporate some of the important key points and best practices like lighting, quality of the video, how you articulate your message, what image you want to be portrayed as. Right. Anything else?
Hook line in the first 3 seconds.
Call to action. Okay.
So it's like a question, for instance, like, hey, have you heard AI is taking over social media? Pause. Whoa, what did she say? That will keep me watching. Or I've got 3 tips for you to show up tomorrow. Things like that. So that's like your hook. And then your call to action is always changing. That's like the biggest thing. So before it used to be a push to the link in bio, which is where your business lived, where you got people to go listen to the podcast or where you got people to go to your website. Now it's all about creating conversations in the comments. So, which drives engagement.
Right.
Which engagement in analytics, and this is just a little tip, we don't have to dive into it because analytics is like a whole nother conversation, but engagement is the number one prime thing you need to get in the algorithm right now. It's not followers, it's not impressions, it's engagement.
You need engagement.
You need engagement. You need people commenting on your post. You need people direct messaging you. You need people sharing your content that you're putting out there to your friend or your coworker or someone else you think needs to hear it. You want them to save it so they go back, because what it's doing is it's telling the algorithm, this person's content's interesting. They must go to the top.
Are any of those rewarded more favorably than others, or is any engagement, kind of equal? We just want it all, and as much as I can get.
As much as you can get, yeah.
Okay, so like equal. As an example, if I am articulating comments, that isn't favored more so than if I'm just saving it for later.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I would say it could be. Yeah. It could change. I know that saves and shares are really important right now.
Interesting.
And I think direct messages, the call to action right now today, like I said, it used to be link in bio. And, some of my mentors that I follow, I love them because they say it just the perfectly best way. They're like, we're not idiots. We all know the links in the bio.
Right.
Why do we have to tell everybody that?
Right.
So instead, the formula is, and it's mind-blowing because it makes such good sense, it's comment a word, because you're asking them to do something, right? An emoji is not enough anymore. That's like so 8 years ago.
Right.
It's literally comment the word reels, and I will put you on the list. And then what happens is that in your comments, for me, if I go back into my post that I posted and I ask them to comment the word reels, each of those people I can send a direct message to. And guess what? All my direct messages are automated. I just have to type in one word and it sends them a full message of what I want to talk to them about. And then we start having a conversation in direct messages that's creating a relationship. And also you become the expert. They're like, you've never met this person probably, but they want your tips. Then guess what? They get on your email list. And then you're emailing them up about your free event, or, hey, I'm doing a series. It's $39. Come check it out, And if you are relatable to them, they're not going to buy from you right away. No one does on social. But you become that expert in that space and you're creating this engagement. And so anytime this person's interacting with you, you're always going to go to the top of their feed and you'll be seen because they're interested in your content, they're interested in what you have to say, and they've engaged with you.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk a little bit and then we'll get into AI.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of conversation about everything that's going on within Twitter and the changes that Musk has implemented there. One of which is charging for being a verified person.
Yep.
Or
they were the first to do it.
Business or brand, what have you, right?
Yep.
There is conversation that Meta is going to begin to incorporate that.
Oh, they did.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk a little bit about what that looks like. And then the question becomes, outside of a famous person and or, let's call them, a blogger, somebody who has a real persona, a real presence, a real brand.
Right.
What's the importance of considering that as something that I would want to do?
So just like you said, Twitter was the first on the board to be like, you know what, we're going to charge a monthly fee to verify somebody, to say that you truly are this person. And this is a subscription service and this is what you get for it. And Meta followed suit. They tested it in New Zealand and Australia, smaller market. And when they announced they were testing it, within less than a month, they launched it wide. So you would have gotten like an automated up at the top, kind of like a pop-up, just like on a website that said, you are now available to register for Meta Verified. And a lot of people are like, what is this? And
right.
Why
does it apply to me? Why do I care?
Why would I even care? I mean, for a while there, getting a blue check mark wasn't just because you were a celebrity. It actually was all about public relations and media. So the purpose of the blue check mark was to verify that you truly were the official whoever you said you were on the platform, and you couldn't be copycatted in a way.
Right.
And sure, it was probably easier to get verified as a celebrity because they had either the connections or they put in the public relations. But a lot of my clients that I ever went in and got verified, you just had to submit certain articles of paperwork. You had to show that you were the business that you were saying you were. You had to submit like 3 or 4 forms of public relations, like media outlet. Like we had an article about you in Forbes and we had this about you in this. And so then it says, yes, you truly are this person. And so the problem became that a lot of spam and issues and bots and things like that, like robots, were pretending to be somebody.
Right.
And then people's accounts were being taken down and they were losing their accounts. And it kind of became a safety issue for them to be like, this really is Scott. This person is not impersonating Scott Heinola.
Right.
This person truly is Scott. And so because they have a blue check mark. But they couldn't just hand out blue check marks.
Right.
So they came up with a verification process.
Okay.
And it's $14.99 a month. So it is a subscription service.
Right. So it's a revenue model.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you have to have a certain amount of followers. So having so many followers and I roll my eyes because I will argue this every day now, especially walking the field, because I once thought you could only make it in social because you had X amount of followers. And that is not the truth. I worked really, really hard to gain my followers. But my focus was never followers,
right.
That number, you know what I mean? My focus was to be able to deliver awesome content to share. I'm a big sharer. If anybody comes on my platform, I'm not selling you my tips and tricks. I'm giving them to you. Because you could Google the next person who does the same thing I do, and they're going to charge you a certain amount of money for them. And I'm like, okay, but we can find that information. Just teach it to them, you know? So being Meta verified is important to you if this social media, your platform, your audience, what you're using as your social media, if that is your business, if that is a core part of your business, it'd be like securing your website.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
so
makes sense.
I would get it. The benefit to it is, and I had to pull this up because they did test it, so there wasn't like a final, like this is what you get when you're Meta verified, and they just came out with why you would want to do it and what it offers. So it increases your credibility. So it can help establish credibility and
authenticity.
Thank you. For a user's online presence and make it easier for others to trust the user and their content. And I'm going to tell you why, because I'll tell you the process you have to go through. Better discoverability. So verified accounts are often given priority search results. And recommendations. So there's a such thing on Instagram called a For You page. You probably see it. It's the one whenever you hit the search button and it suggests that you should either check out this person's account or follow this account because it's relevant to what you're searching whenever you're on the platform. And then improve security. So this was the biggest piece of it. For meta verification can help prevent identity theft and also other forms of online. So you almost are securing, you're insuring your account. So if something happens and someone comes in and hacks your account, you have the availability to connect with somebody directly at Meta.
And so it's any page. So what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be just an Annie Dietrich or a Scott Heinel. It could be your company page, your brand.
It can't be a business.
It cannot be a business. Okay.
It's a creator account.
Okay.
And not a private account, a public account.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I think business will come. I think it'll be a different type of format.
Right.
I think they'll have some type of a business verification process because businesses are different, the way they operate. But in reality, if I had a business, I'd qualify myself as a creator. You just have access to everything.
Right.
And we've talked about that in past episodes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to AI.
Okay.
Huge. We could talk at length about all of this.
Yeah.
Let's just touch on a few of the big things that we're seeing within social media and the integration of AI moving at an extremely rapid pace. One of which I don't think we've ever seen in technology in any real capacity. I mean, typically, historically speaking, it's like, okay, you think about just the iPhone as an example.
Sure.
Well, the first few iPhones really didn't innovate much. Even the App Store wasn't created, to my memory, for a few years after the first iPhone. And we know how important that is to most everybody's life.
Right.
With AI, in the matter of a week or 2 weeks, we're seeing huge strides in development and how fast this is developing in our day-to-day lives and in the technology world. So with that said, with social media, what is it that we see today?
So
let's talk about what it is first.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different forms of it, but the biggest one of all is Chat GPT. There's other forms of AI. I've used one called Jasper, where it helps write out marketing for you. You can kind of prompt it to do a lot of different things. But Chat GPT seems to be the biggest and most.
Absolutely. It is the main platform that is being utilized currently.
Yep. Yeah, huge. And I know for a fact that other platforms, such as like a Meta that knows and has the capacity, will probably come out with their own form of AI.
Right.
Snapchat was the first one to do it.
Right.
That was just several weeks ago. They launched their AI. It's like having a best friend on there. And that they're catering to teenagers. And I mean, my son was like, I have this robot that talks to me and asks me questions and wants to know what kind of ice cream I like. And it's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah. And Google is they have their products and their companies that they've acquired, and they're developing their own version of AI, which I'm sure will be incredible when they do release it. But as of today, the leader is Chat GPT.
Yeah. So from a social media perspective, we've embraced it as social media managers. To say that you wouldn't use this for content creation or that you wouldn't use something like this to help you build out an outline for something would be really, really silly on your part.
Okay, so let's talk about what that looks like from your perspective, and then I could maybe interpret that in how an advisor would use that.
Yeah, so for me, I think the biggest thing about social media is people just don't have the time to do it, or they have to hire someone to do it. And my biggest pitch to people always is that if you are going to be the main person on your social, you need to be the main person. You can have somebody create your content outline. Well, number one, you need a strategy, which I think that you need to understand what a strategy looks like. And that's not just something AI can put out there for you. But as far as like a content creation, it can definitely give you ideas based off your niche. And I think that the biggest thing is that you need to show up as the expert on your platform. So if you are trying to create your social media and become more networkable and engage and get business through social, you need to have a game plan. And then from there, AI would be able to totally help you outline what that looks like. You have to use it right, though. You have to understand what it's like. Like my husband was explaining it to me this way. He's like, you have sprinklers in the backyard and they automatically go on, but someone controls that. Like somebody sets that up for you, someone puts that in place, and it works that way. And that's the same thing with using AI. It's, you have to know what to tell it. You have to understand when it spits out the information that a lot of the times, and I've used it, a lot of times it's not 100% like, bam, they got it. You know what I mean? But it is really incredible because it also gives you ideas that you probably never heard or thought of. You know what I mean?
Right.
So from a time management perspective, I think it's brilliant because I can ask it to write me an outline for Mental Health Awareness Month, because that would be something that I don't have a ton of information about. And maybe I have a client that talks about that, and it can kind of help me prompt ideas and things like that. But you have to know how to talk to it. You have to know what to ask for. And you have to be very, like, I am going on a podcast with Scott Heinela, who's the, host of Optimize Advisor. What are 3 things we should talk about? If we just put that in, it's like, it could give us 3 things of anything.
Right.
So instead it's like, what 3 things for AI should we talk about?
Yeah. You kind of think about it like coding as an example.
For sure.
The good news about this is I don't need to know how to code.
Right.
But I do need to know how to be specific in how I articulate what it is that I'm needing you to do.
Right.
So another example could be, I am looking to host 12 virtual events for clients. You could probably dial in ages, 55 to 65 on this topic or these 3 topics.
Yep.
Can you give me a step-by-step process and how to execute that?
Yeah.
That would be one example. The other one would be if I have newsletters, or I'm an advisor that wants to create a blog post. I have a blog on my website, or I want to start loading content on my website.
Yep.
That then ties to the different versions or forms of social media that I am utilizing to get content out there. You can say, let's use annuities. I would like to create a blog article on the utilization of index annuities today.
Right.
And it would give you some kind of description. Whether or not you agree with that or all, at least it's a starting point. From there, you can start to you can continue to drill down.
Yep.
And get more succinct with the messaging. Now, of course, you've got to get all this approved through compliance, but we'll exclude that part of the conversation for now.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and I think one of the biggest things that you can do is it can help you, like you said, create that outline. Like the biggest one I've seen is blogs. Jasper was one I was using for a while that really helped me. I'm not a creative writer. I'm really good at managing social, and I can come up with good keywords and things like that. But as far as copywriting, it's just not my forte.
Right.
But to hire somebody in my business for that is really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked with a few, and some are great and some are, But I will have to say, Jasper, when I've used it, it's got phenomenal copywriting skills. And it'll be like, I need to write a blog about, the 5 hottest trends on social media right now. And it kind of gives you just the outline. And then you fill it in with your personality. And I do find that in Chat GPT and Jasper, I do find that they start to get to understand your personality as you keep requesting things.
Wow.
So kind of becomes your own personal. I know there's a lot of people talking about in my space, in the social media space. I do see a lot of people talking about this otter AI, and it's like your virtual assistant, and it's literally this little otter, and it's a computer, and it attends your meetings with you and takes all the notes. And it like floats through your emails and can respond to certain emails that you've already given.
That's available now?
That's available now.
Whoa.
Tell
me more about that.
I don't know too much about it, but I know a few people that I work with that use it.
And what do they say about it?
They love it. They're like, that robot over there, that's just my otter. That's my AI.
How good, do they say how good it is currently?
Yeah, the person that I know that's used it, she's a big writer, and she writes for like GoDaddy, and she writes for tons of major websites and things like that. And so she's kind of pulled in all these different directions and has gone through virtual assistants that just don't, she needs somebody who can like recap this email or respond to this email. And what this specific AI he or she, I don't know, an
Yeah.
otter, I always think
Yeah.
of a he.
Yeah.
He is supposed to get to know you and how you react to things
Wow.
and can respond to emails for you. And you can review them, she said. She loves it. And so we do a meeting every other week together, and her little robot comes into the meeting on Zoom and sits there in a box, you guys, like in the box, like as if it's its own person. And it'll fully send notes, and it'll give her tasks, and even things to like, okay, next week so-and-so is going to do this. It has her tasks outlined, like most important, what you can put on the back burner.
Wow. That's what's most amazing about this. Is you think about the role that AI is playing in pretty much any industry, it is quickly filling the role of pretty integral positions within a firm that at the current pace it will be completely like if this thing continues to scale the way that you're describing to me now and gets better and more perfected and more profound at what its abilities, why do I need a human person to be a virtual assistant?
Right.
I will not.
No.
Because at a fraction of the price and probably significantly, first of all, it never calls in sick. Right? There's never a sick day. There's never a day where I need to pick up my kids. There's none of that. It is always going to be there doing what it can do or what you're telling it to do. And I guarantee you 10% of the cost, 20% of the cost, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that is most intriguing to me, or cautiously aware of the fact that as this is rapidly developing, it is absolutely changing the way a company can operate. And I would say in 2 years' time, if advisors and really any profession isn't really taking a good hard look at this and what it can do, you are going to be completely obsolete as a company.
For sure. And one of the biggest things, like you said, doesn't call out sick, but not to mention how quickly it gets things done. So for instance, there's a lot of different platforms that have a form of AI. Canva, which is a graphic design software that's pretty much user-friendly to anybody and everyone, even if you have no graphic background design or anything like that. And in social, we use Canva a lot and Adobe. And for Canva, they launched something a long time ago. I'd say been on the scene for a little while, and it's called Magic. And you go on to a document and you can ask it a question and it'll write it all out for you. And then you just edit it and create the PDF.
Give me a specific example.
Like, for instance, you could write like...
Think about an advisor.
Well, you could just say like, what are the top 3 trends right now in the market? Like, you could literally type that and it'll tell you exactly, because it's pulling everything that is directly in Canva.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was one of the first experiences I had with that, where I was like, whoa, this is going to be really, really wacky and very rad at the same time.
Right.
And there is that learning curve to it, just like when you hire somebody and train them. I will have to say, I do utilize Chat GPT for a lot of outlines because it definitely helps me do that. I'm super organized when it comes to social and things like that, but I'm really about building strategies. I've evolved in my own career, you know, so owning a social media company, I started with my vision of just teaching people how to post to their social media. And that was all I really did.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize that there's like a whole strategy to it till a couple of years ago. And I've really pushed myself into that, educate myself, take the courses, become that person that's ahead of the tier. And one of those things that comes with that is, you know, creating these strategies, but your strategy is not like a different strategy, you know, someone else's strategy or even another advisor's strategy.
Right.
Because your niche might be one thing and somebody else's niche is another. So your strategy is executed very differently. And I found that Chat GPT really helps me create those outlines for each individual client. And man, it just speeds up my time.
Yeah. That's,
helps me format it.
Yeah, and those are things for the computer, the technology to do it just so efficiently. It's very cut and dry. You and I could sit down and take the time to articulate it all out. Would it be perfect? Probably not. It's something we'd refine over time. But one quick area where we recently utilized it was creating, and the advisors should absolutely do this. Let's say you wanted to create a platform or a step-by-step process for a person on your team to conduct virtual events. Something that we want to adopt, embrace, and implement on a regular basis. Well, it literally did a complete description, step-by-step process with very articulate descriptions of what each step, the high-level step included or required within two minutes.
Yeah.
It was done.
It will write a content outline for you.
And these are
seconds.
like the most basic tasks that
Right.
we're asking GPT to do. There are significantly greater, more complicated, significant tasks that it absolutely can do if you know how to articulate the message to it or the request.
And depending upon your industry and what you're doing, there is really cool courses you can take. Like I fully went on board with AI and Chat GPT for social media because I wanted to understand what it was. I wanted to embrace it. Now there's a lot of people who are like, if you're doing that, you're just a computer. You're not being, an individual and that type of thing. And don't get me wrong. There are some days where I have writer's block and I can't even be creative that day. But I definitely think that you still put your piece to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there is, and I've written these down because these are really cool. And we should share these actually. And I think we should share them when we launch this episode. But there are Chat GPT prompts just for social media. And I have my top 5.
Okay, what are they?
So write a post with topic, and then you insert the topic, obviously, and the takeaway. Because a takeaway is different than just writing a post with a certain topic.
Right, then the takeaway is the magic.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then you insert what the takeaway would be. And then write an Instagram caption for a post about, let's just say, Cinco de Mayo at, the restaurant with a fancy drink or whatever it is. And then you add a keyword because keywords still need to be used in social. You cannot forget about those keywords because the algorithm relates to those. Mm-hmm. And then 3 relevant hashtags. I will have to tell you, I have upped my hashtag game with ChatGPT. It comes up with some of the best hashtags because if you use the same hashtags, hashtag financial advisor, hashtag insurance, hashtag in every one of your posts, you're just going to the same place.
Right.
ChatGPT gives some pretty creative ones. And so you're supposed to use 2 pretty relevant and 3 kind of not.
Got it. Okay.
And so
the ones that really expand your reach,
yeah.
outside the sandbox,
for,
particular to the topic or the article that I'm talking about, because you never know how that might overlap,
like
and that overlap might correlate.
Yeah, like for one came up for a podcast when I recently wrote a caption for you, and one of the hashtags that we revamped was it's like big money podcast, and I was like, I would have never have thought of that.
Right.
And it actually did pretty good for us because you can now get analytics on your hashtags. Mm-hmm. So that's something that is really, a good tip. Hashtags you can pay. I've paid lots of money for different hashtag softwares because hashtags 3-4 years ago were so important because we never understood the algorithm.
Right.
And so, or we're trying to. And I would say that it's kind of brilliant. Mm-hmm. We used to enter it, it'd shoot out like 500 at you. You'd have to weed through all of them. Wow.
No, this is so much more efficient. Yeah, this is so much more efficient.
So much more efficient. Mm-hmm. And coming up with those ideas, you should change up your hashtags. The other big thing would be write an Instagram caption because be specific. Write a LinkedIn caption. Write an Instagram caption. Right. Because it's pulling from the different platforms.
Okay.
So you cannot be general.
Got it.
And when you write the word like write a message, they think you're talking about like a text message or a voice message.
Okay,
like
you need to be very specific about what it is, a post, not a message.
So write an Instagram caption with a hook and a CTA to click the link in bio on whatever the topic is. So on, financial courses or what have you. The other one would be give me ideas for a social media post that combines topic A and topic B. So ChatGPT likes to do like X versus Z or A versus B because it pulls all these different ways, and that's creating conversations.
Interesting.
Which is good content. And then the last one would be give me content hooks that will grab attention for social media, for the financial industry, and I would drop in your niche. Like for me, I'm all about teaching people strategies and tips. So, that's my biggest play off of it would be like, give me the top 5 tips to give somebody if they were going to get on social media today.
Right.
Like, what would be the first thing you would do?
Mm-hmm.
And something I learned in the class that I recently took is that you really have to break it down. When you go in, and I do this all the time, when you go in and you give them tips and you give them like 5 and they're like, okay, so I'm going to do this one and then I'm going to do that one. It's not even that. Whenever I talk about like optimizing your bio, just do the first sentence on your bio. This is what you need to do with the first sentence on your bio. And then don't tell them anymore. The next post, tell them what they do next. And then you're creating more content.
Interesting.
And Chat GPT kind of teaches you that because it kind of breaks it down, right? Like if you ever ask it a question, it gives you 3 or 4 different answers. And then it'll be like along the lines of this. And you can also talk about that. And
oh, wow.
It really can go play with it. It's definitely.
Great. Okay. The takeaway for sure here is every person who listens to this needs to make sure that they invest some time to be aware, get on to ChatGPT, play with it, know what it does, and be aware of it, and figure out ways that you can begin to implement it into your practice.
Yeah. And I guarantee you that if you're specific enough, you can ask. So if you are, on your own with your social, I think it's a game changer. Carve out some time to get to know ChatGPT or Jasper is a great one directly for social. I mean, it's really good for social and blogs and website as well. But you definitely need to ask it to help create your content outline. And it literally will tell you everything you need to do for you could say for the whole month. So for the whole month of May, I need a content outline that is specifically related to annuities and anything that's happening in the month of May that's related to that industry. Because it's going to pull things. Like there's all these national awareness days and all these, certain things, and it will tell you this. And if you didn't know that event or that time period was happening, you could be ahead of the game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And it'll write it out, and then you could go even back in there and say, write me an Instagram post related to, long-term care.
Right.
But get specific with it. Like, what kind of post do you want to do? Is it write me an educational post about long-term care? So.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's kind of like your little assistant.
There you go. So much to learn about this. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
If people want to reach out to you, how do they do so? How do they get in contact with you?
They can follow me at AC Social Designs and just shoot me a DM. It helps with my engagement.
Cheers. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Please subscribe, like, share, leave a comment or review. Be sure to check us out on social media at Optimized Advisor Podcast. Till next time.